Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of Professionals Unplugged. I am your host Utkarsh Shukla. Let me introduce you to my guest Sara. Sara, thank you so much for accepting our invite.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Sara. So let's begin with your very basic question. Can you please introduce our audience about yourself, like who you are, what work you do, anything you want us to know about you?
Okay. So I have a very checkered background in the sense that my father's Iraqi, hence my surname. I lived in Iraq in the 70s and then moved to the UAE, to Abu Dhabi. And then, my schooling then went on to England, to boarding school, to university, worked in London. And then in 97, I actually left England and I went to work in Malaysia. Then I was in Thailand for 6 years, and then I was in Ireland for 20 years, and now I'm back in Dubai. I'm back in the UAE. So I have a mixture of obviously, English and Arab background, and I have to say it's lovely to be back here. I feel like it's more like home. People kind of get confused because I have such an English accent. They don't realize I have Arabic heritage. But in 2002, when I was living in Thailand, I had gone into partnership with three other people to open a holistic health center. So I used to be an engineer, but I was never passionate about it. I was always passionate about helping people, and I wanted to find a way to help people. So I went into the center knowing absolutely nothing about how to help people. And then about 4 or 5 months after the center was opened, I met a lady who was a neuro-linguistic programming trainer, NLP. And she worked with me, and I was blown away by how simple it was actually to change the way that I was thinking and feeling. And I ended up going on to become a practitioner. Then the following year, I went to Australia and I did my master practitioner. And then I signed up to become a trainer. So I've actually been a trainer, an NLP trainer since 2003. And then I moved to Ireland. And when I was there, I started working kind of by chance, but I don't believe in coincidences. I think the universe kind of guides you to what you're supposed to do. I ended up working with a local secondary school, helping students who were struggling with exam stress, study strategies, behavior issues, anger issues, things like that. And I ended up working with an organization called the School Completion Program, which helps students to stay at school rather than leaving early. I was there for about 6 years with that school, and I got younger and younger and younger students because I kept saying, okay, I've got like 17, 18-year-olds to begin with, but I'm a bit late. Like they're right at the end of their school career. I don't know how much I can really do to help them to be motivated, and they've missed a lot of information, etc. So every year I was like, can I get them younger? Can I get them earlier? And the last year I was there, I was with first and second year students. And that year, they gave me 40 first and second year students. And I was only there 3 mornings a week. So I said, I've got a huge list here, plus all the other students scattered around the years. I said, but what is it you want me to do with these students? I said, I'm really confused why it's so big. And they said, we want you to help them with their numeracy and their literacy. But I'm not a teacher. They said, we know that, but you've had amazing results with so many kids who've had learning difficulties, over the years. We think you can help them. So I was scratching my head. I just said, look, I don't understand where they are. Where do they need to be? I was not given any real information about these students. And again, I do believe the universe provides. And I had this question in my head, what's going on with these kids? And eventually I was able to see their reports. And it turned out most of them were dyslexic. And I had no idea, this is 2010, I had no idea what that meant. I understood about the symptoms, but I was like, but I don't understand from a cognitive point of view what's going on. So I went to a conference in London. I met an amazing lady called Olive Higmot. She's dyslexic. She overcame her dyslexia using NLP and a few other different strategies. And I was blown away. I went to her talk and I just said, okay, I get it. I get what she's doing. And it's absolute genius, really simple. So I went back to the school on Monday and I started using her process that she just taught in 45 minutes in her talk. And I started to see results almost immediately. I was blown away. I just said, okay, I don't understand why. I get it works, but I don't understand why. So then I made a decision to bring her over. So I did her full training, kept bringing her over. We trained teachers, we trained parents, we trained literacy tutors, all kinds of things. And then over the while, the funding ran out for the school. And I just said, okay, it's time to leave. That's okay. 6 years, and I worked with one of the other secondary schools as well. But on the other end, with the really high achievers who were stressing out about exams and really putting a lot of pressure on themselves. So I helped them to be a lot calmer going into exams and university. So I actually then decided to go and do a master's degree. I said, okay, the money's run out. It's just after the recession in Ireland. I said, I don't think I'm going to get too much work. So I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to go and I'm going to do a master's. And I decided to do it with adults, adult learning and development. And I actually used the same process with adults who'd been struggling since they were children. And some of them were 30s, 40s, 50s, still very poor spellers, still struggling to read, still struggling to make, but very intelligent. This is always the thing that always shocked me. It's nothing to do with intelligence. There's something else going on. So I did use the process in my research with a cohort, 7 or 8 adults. And at the end of 4 weeks, I only met them 2 hours a week. And at the end of 4 weeks, they could all spell. And for some of them, it completely changed their lives. And one of the things that every single one of them said, if they had met me when they were children, which would have been impossible because I would have been a child myself, but if they had met someone like me and this process had been shown to them when they were children, their lives would have been completely different. They were happy to have got it at that stage, but they could see how much wasted time there was because they didn't know this process. And then in between that, I met an amazing head teacher of a primary school, and we had a meeting, and at the end of it, he said, okay, I get it. I get how this works. I get how we're not doing this with our students. Why don't you come in and we'll run a course with all of my staff, and we'll see if it works across the whole school, not just with learning difficulties. So we did that. We did a pilot project. There was his school and 2. Sorry?
This was in which country?
In Ireland.
In Ireland.
Yeah. So he was brilliant. And I said, okay, I'm going to do the training, but I want in return for free. I'm not going to charge you. I want you to let me come into your school whenever I need to, talk to your staff, talk to your students and guide them and just get feedback on how does this work in a whole school setting, not just one-to-one. So we did that for 2013. I did the training for his school, and it was amazing. And he has never looked back. And every single one of his staff members is trained. If he has new staff, they do the new training. The students teach the teachers how to do it, which I always love. The students love it. They're much more confident. We've demonstrated to, Department of Education, people in Ireland, university lecturers, they've all been blown away by this. So over the 10 years I was in Ireland from that point, I trained staff from maybe 70 or 80 primary schools and always got amazing feedback. So yeah, then last year I moved to Dubai, and I've already started working with families here. And yeah, I'm looking to bring this into schools in Dubai because dyslexia is international, it's worldwide. And most teachers, they don't know really how to deal with it. They just kind of do the same thing really they're doing in class, but a little bit slower and smaller groups. But actually there's a very, very different way. It's very unique and it's very quick.
I think this is an amazing journey of you that you just shared with us. So starting with the NLP, like you got introduced to NLP and around 2003 or 4, right? So how was
2002,
it? Yeah, 2002. So how was it? Can you just enlighten us on the same, like how it changed the way you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So I met this lady. She explained how NLP worked because I've always been curious about NLP. I had met somebody when I was working in London in the 90s. We're still good friends, and she always said to me, I think you'd like NLP. And I was like, what is it? She was like, it's really hard to explain. She said, but I think with your brain, the way your brain works, she said, I really think this is something that you would like. So fast forward to 2002, and I met this lady, and she explained to me how the mind filters information, how the experience we're having is not actually the whole experience. It's just a version in our minds based on our beliefs, based on our decisions, based on our emotional baggage, based on our culture, our values, etc., etc. We've got quite a complex array of filters that means that what we're experiencing in our minds is a tiny, tiny fraction of what's going on. And we can change those filters. That's the beauty of NLP. We can change those programs that are running. So when she explained how it worked, I said, oh, I love it. Okay, can I have a session? And she said, well, actually, I'm traveling. I'm on holiday here. She said, I'm back in. I don't have time today. She said, I'll be back in 10 days. I said, okay, I'll wait. I said, but what can I do in the meantime? Because now I'm really hooked. I want to understand more. I want to know how can I change my life. And she said, just observe yourself. She said, don't try and change anything. Just notice, is there anything that makes you react or feel a way that you'd rather not? She said, that's all we need to work on. That's a good starting place. I said, okay. Thinking I have no idea what's going to happen. So at the end of 10 days, she arrived back and I said, okay, I have it. I have the problem. And she said, what is it? I said, I've observed over the last 10 days, and I don't know why I do this, but it's very weird, is if someone pays me a compliment that I'm clever, that, you know, I can do things, I want to kill them. I feel this rage inside of me. I said, that's very strange. That's a very strange reaction. I don't know why. Like, why would I be like that? I said, but I've noticed, and I had a business partner at the time, and her nickname for me was the brain. So every time she said, oh, just ask the brain, I'm like, now I never showed it. It was just internal. I never did anything. But I was like, this, and I would be really, really genuinely angry inside. I said, I don't understand this. So through a particular technique where you kind of dig down to find out, well, what's really going on underneath this? Like, it's not, that's just everything that people think is the problem is actually just the symptom. So we need to find what's driving that at the deep unconscious level. And I mean, I wasn't really aware of what she was doing at the time because I wasn't aware of the techniques, but the result was that a memory from when I was 15 popped into my head when I went to boarding school. I'm away from family. I'm away from all my friends. You know, I'm brand new in this school, one of the new girls. And I had gone to a very, very academic school in Abu Dhabi. And anyone who lives in the UAE knows the school Shweifat. Very academic, I was very hardworking. And I just arrived at school and I just carried on working and I was getting A's. And these girls, they didn't quite understand that it wasn't a typical school with hardworking kids. And they actually questioned me. They said, you know, we don't know where you fit in. Are you a square or are you a rebel? Because I had a sense of humor and I was able to get on. And my 15-year-old self went, oh no, I can't be too clever because I'm going to be, my head is now above the parapet. I'm being noticed. And I noticed that what happened to the squares, the girls who were called squares, the studious girls got bullied. So for protection reasons, my unconscious mind, completely out of my conscious awareness, I had no recollection of making this decision, but I could see it as an adult. So I was 31 at this stage. It's 16 years of living with this decision. Recognized that I had made a decision that being clever was actually not safe. So our unconscious mind's priority is to keep us safe. That's its number one job, is to keep us alive and to keep us safe. It doesn't matter if it's logical or not. It doesn't care. It's just, that's its job, and it's going to do it really, really well. So my unconscious mind then ended up sabotaging pretty much my education for the next 16 years. I just about scraped into university. I was like, what's wrong with me? I don't know why I'm not working hard. When I was in university, I failed my first year. I did architecture and I left everything to last minute. And I always had this voice inside my head going, what is wrong with me? Like, why? I know I can work hard. Why am I? It was like something was blocking me and I had no idea what. I then went into engineering. I became an engineer. I didn't get a great degree, but I worked hard once I was an engineer. And then between 1998 to 2003, I actually was doing an MBA online and I didn't finish it. I sabotaged myself. I was 90% of the way through and I quit. And again, my voice in some heads going, what are you doing? You've paid for this. This is all. Why could I not motivate myself to do it? And when I had that session, the clarity I got on that sabotage that had been operating since I was 15, suddenly I could see it. And I realized it was not a personality trait. I wasn't putting myself down to make other people feel better because it was natural. I was doing it because I thought I had to keep myself safe. So once I could see that that was a decision, I could change it. And I changed it. And from then on, I went back up to being an A student because I said, no, I know I can do this. I can work hard and I can apply myself. And I also realized that I had to do this for me and not for anyone else. If I did anything from an academic point of view. But one of my first thoughts in that first session was, if somebody in my school had understood NLP, had learned NLP and trained in it, they could have helped me when they saw my grades were nosediving. Instead of saying, you need to work harder, you need to put more effort, you can do better. You know, I knew those things, but Something was blocking me, and I did not know what it was. So my first thought when I had my session and when I started training in NLP was, I want to help kids. I want to help teenagers who are making these decisions they're based on an inaccurate view of the world, worrying about what other people think more than what is, good for them. And then they got younger and younger. So my youngest client was 5. My oldest was 82. So I worked with everybody in between. And the 5-year-old, it was a phobia about dogs. That was her problem. So I work with teenagers. I love working with teenagers. People think I'm crazy. I have 2 teenagers of my own. That's different. They're my children. But working with teens who are really holding themselves back unnecessarily, and I help them to empower themselves to make better decisions, to really question, their motives, why they're behaving the way they do, and to help them to really be on a better path.
What I have understand from your definition of NLP is like everything that has happened to us is connected to what we are behaving right now,
Oh,
conscious
for
or
sure. Yeah.
unconsciously, right? And you need to know yourself in better order to know why you are reacting to particular situation or particular things. That's how we can help ourselves or even other people who are
Yeah,
suffering
for
from
sure.
these things, right? So there might be many challenges that you are facing while helping students in order to get to know what is causing their effect or what is causing their issue with them, right? So what are the challenges you are facing right now and how you try to conquer them? I think there must be
In
many
terms of
challenges.
my challenges or their challenges.
I mean, it's correlated because you are helping them. So, so we can discuss yours first,
Uh,
means how you are trying to help them.
so one of the biggest challenges, I've noticed this so I've been doing this now for 22 years. Can't believe 22 years. So I'm much older than, well, I don't know, maybe I look my age now. But I feel about 100. The biggest challenge I've always found is that people don't believe that change can be fast and easy and quick and without having to. The beauty of NLP versus counseling, psychotherapy, things like that, is that you don't have to talk about the story. I don't need to know all of the painful things that have happened to people. I just need to know what was the decisional beliefs that they've got. That's what we're going to remove. Not if you get into the story, then we could be there forever. People tell their stories and they want to. The thing about the story is, again, it's only one version of reality. It was their version of reality at the time. So my whole thing is about changing perspectives. So the biggest challenge is that people genuinely, first of all, they think it's who they are. They think it's a personality trait. And that's actually very true of adults with dyslexia. I find adults with dyslexia the most resistant to my. So if I'm talking to someone and I find out they're an adult with dyslexia, I say, I can help you. They're like, no, it's okay. No, I'm all right. Because they've developed systems and mechanisms for coping in the world. They've probably tried other things in the past that have failed. And so there's a horrible fear. There's a fear of failure again. Like, no, I'm done. I've made a decision. I am the way I am, et cetera, et cetera. So people are very resistant to change, even though they're in pain. So, it's interesting. That is the main barrier, is they don't believe me when I tell them, okay, you have a phobia. Okay, give me 90 minutes. We'll do a session. It'll be gone. And they don't believe me. I'm very rarely do I have to do more than one 90-minute session with someone for a phobia. I've had guys who were terrified of flying, being on a plane. One guy in particular, I love his stories. This is very many years ago when I first started. He had one 90-minute session. He then emailed me after his trip and he said, not only did I get on the plane without having a drink, without having medication, without Valium, without anything, he said, I got on the plane, I enjoyed my flight, and he voluntarily went up in a helicopter. And he was terrified of flying. I've had people terrified of dogs, mice, spiders, water, heights, you name it.
So what you told
And I've helped.
what you told that guy?
What did I do?
Yeah, what you told that person
Well,
who was afraid of flying.
Well, the process is to recognize that a phobia is an irrational fear. So we have a natural level of fear that keeps us safe, but a phobia is like, imagine you have like an elastic band around you, and then, it gets tested because, you could be crossing the road and a car nearly, and so you get that, but it comes back down to, it's not that you never cross the road ever again. You just kind of learn, okay, I need to be careful, whatever. So it comes back to a natural level and you have some wisdom or some lesson with it. But something can happen and that elastic band gets pushed so far out and then it loses its ability to come back. So it's like you've got this unnatural, huge fear of something, even though logically it's fine. Or, flying is a calculated risk. I can never say to someone it's 100% safe. It's a calculated risk. But as adults, we're good at making those risks. Those calculations. So what happens is you basically help the unconscious mind to bring that fear level back to a manageable level, to just change the perspective and to change the messaging that the unconscious mind is giving to the conscious mind. Because as I said in the beginning, your unconscious mind's job, number one job, keep you alive as long as possible. It doesn't really care whether you're happy. It's just you're safe. So it's in our minds that we decide to be happy. The unconscious mind is about safety, but we can bring the two together and we can be safe and we can be happy. We just have to have the conscious and the unconscious communicating with each other a little bit better.
That's pretty awesome in order to know what is that thing that is causing us the phobia, right? And then overcoming the odds.
Yeah, and phobias can be from two different sources. One is the person's own experience. So, for example, I had someone who was terrified of water because they nearly drowned when they were a child. They went into the sea and, they got, tumbled around and they were very afraid and they thought they were going to die, etc. That's actually, sometimes that's easier to deal with because when that happens, people always know. They're like, I know exactly where this comes from. And they'll tell me the origin, the source. But the other source is by observing our parents. So the little girl I told you who was afraid of dogs, she had never had a bad experience with dogs. But her mother was also, I actually worked with all three. Her mother was also terrified of dogs. So the little girl was observing her mother, who was very afraid of dogs. So every time she's like, okay, I have to be afraid of dogs too. So you learn it not from an experience, but by modeling. And then it turned out, and the mother had never, I said, have you had, so she came to me as well. And it was very funny because I had a little white dog at the time. And I had to bring her around the house with the dog behind them. And she was terrified. She was like, oh my God, I can see the dog. She was a little tiny dog. And at the end of the session, I said, are you ready to meet my dog? And she said, yeah. And she came out and then she went, oh no, it's the dog, it's the tongue. I can't handle the dog's tongue. I said, okay, we went back into the office. We did another 10, 15 minutes, a few more techniques. And then she came out and she was like, I can't believe this. She was down, petting the dog. The dog was licking her. She was like, I can't believe this. I actually want to get a dog. I actually feel like I want to get a dog now. So within the space of an hour and a half, she went from being absolutely terrified to actually wanting to get a dog. But then it turned out that her mother, the grandmother, was also terrified of dogs. So she also came to see me. And she had been bitten when she was a young child. She had actually had an experience. So again, we cleared that because it was not good for the child to be afraid of dogs. The town that we lived in, there were dogs everywhere. If you went for a walk, the dog was behind the gate or loose, walking around. So, it's not good. It's good to be cautious about dogs. Never approach a dog you don't know. So it's not that you lose your fear and then you're kind of doing crazy stuff. No, it comes back to a more manageable level and you're more kind of like, no, I'm going to be sensible about this. It's not, and take kind of. So yeah, that was one of my favorite stories, is like 3 generations. One was bitten, the other one not, and she had passed down her fear just by modeling it to her daughter, and then her daughter modeled it to her daughter.
Yeah, so I think we got the reason, like there are 2 cases through which phobia can exist. One is your own experience and second is through modeling. Like I think there is where NLP is coming, like we are constantly told by our parents or even by our friends as well, or even the people that are surrounding us, that these are the things that are affecting them, so they might affect us as well. I think
it's safer. It's especially before the age of 7. So if we're observing things before the age of 7, and we don't have the cognitive ability to make sense of the world, we just have to trust that the messages we're getting from the people around us are the right messages. It's safer for us to believe the parents who say, don't go to the river because you'll be eaten by a crocodile, than to go to the river and be eaten by a crocodile. So there's an evolutionary reason why children believe everything that they're told, before the age of 7. So we have to be careful what we tell them.
Right, correct. And so, in order to deal with a lot of the students around you, how you manage the things, means how you manage your time, because if you are working with the school kids, there are a lot of students around you with different problems, right? So, how you try
Yeah.
to
So in Ireland, I was actually in the schools, and it was easier because I had a room and the students would come and see me. So throughout the day, it was very, very easy. Here, obviously, it's a private practice. So it tends to be after school, which is a challenge because I'm a mum as well. So, but there's some stuff in the pipeline here for me to actually be into schools. Really, my main aim is for me to become obsolete. I want to train teachers. I want to give the knowledge to parents. I actually have a free course online for parents. They don't even have to register. It's all on YouTube. So if parents wanted to watch it, if their children were struggling with spelling, reading, handwriting, those 3 skills in particular, I'm like, look, I just want to help people. I realized recently I'm obsessed with two things. I'm obsessed with helping people, and I'm obsessed with learning how to help people. So I also go and do trainings. I also go and find lots of ways. So I have a big toolbox in my head so I didn't just do NLP. I did lots and lots of different trainings over 22 years. I've done so many different courses. I always come back to NLP as the basis, though, because I think it has the best explanation as to how we are as human beings, how we think, feel, and behave. I think it's the most empowering system because the practitioner or the trainer is not solving the problem and is not diagnosing. There's no labeling. It's helping I help people to help themselves, because who am I to know their problem? They know their problem. I don't. So I need them to find the correct solution that matches their problem, not what I think it is. So that's one of the things that often happens in schools is if a child is struggling, the reports are not very helpful. To say, they must try harder. And just coming back to children with dyslexia and dyscalculia, other learning difficulties, because I deal with the whole range. I've never seen families work harder than when they have a child who's struggling. They spend longer at their homework. The parents are trying to find every resource to help them to succeed in school. So really, it's about being smarter and not working harder. It's finding the right route in their brain that works for them. And mainly, it's down to 2 things. Mental imagery. So what's going on in your mind's eye? Can you control it? Can you see words? Can you see numbers? Can you recall facts, etc., visually? And the second one is, are you in a learning state? Are you ready to learn? Is your body and your body has to be calm, your mind has to be open. So I teach those techniques, and they're very, very simple.
I think that's very awesome. So, thank you so much for sharing your insights. I hope if anyone needs any help or any parents needs any help with their children, they will be able to reach out to you. I will add your LinkedIn and your website details as well in the description so that anyone.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, as I said, there's a free course.
Right.
Free course on the website. You can see all the videos. There's even some people have missed it because when they get into YouTube, it just pushes them from video to video. I didn't realize that. But there's actually free downloads as well. So there's even a test. So if parents are concerned,
right.
If the child has got a learning difficulty and they don't know whether to go and get a very expensive, normally, assessment, there's a checklist. It's not a test. It's a questionnaire. It just gives them an idea of some of the problems that their child might be dealing with, but also some of the strengths.
Right.
What are the positives as well? Glad.
Thank you so much, Sara, for sharing your insights with us. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.